Hey you guys, I got a dirty 340 in here in my dining room and I want to show you what it takes to put it in here.
Nick's Garage is supported by Atlas Equipment and K-Tool International.
Hi, I'm Nick and welcome to my shop. Well, you know I do a lot of engines and this is one of them that I had rebuilt and detailed and of course dyno tested. Usually when you guys see engines on the dyno, they're all well detailed like this one here. This is a 440 that belongs to Dan from outside of San Francisco, California. Also, we are building for him a Alpine White 1970 Dodge Challenger. Of course, a Kawasaki Challenger, just like mine right here. So, I just wanted to show you guys what I usually do. So now let's go see what a client brought in. Of course, it's not detailed. Another engine, I'll show you. It's right here, and this is what you call a small block 340, I believe from a Dodge Dart. I don't remember the year.
This crusty old 340 belongs to Jean. He brought the engine to Nick's on a homemade engine stand, not for rebuilding, but just for dyno testing.
Well, he just wanted to see some numbers when he comes in next week. But in the meantime, I want to put on the dyno, which you guys are going to see me do right now, and then get it started. Now, it's got 20,000 miles on it. It is not detailed. It needs to be worked out a bit because he told me they mix up the wiring on the distributor. And I noticed that the carburetor looks pretty stiff, corroded. Maybe this engine, maybe the carburetor was sitting around for a long time. I'm not so sure. But you know what? Let's find out. Let's get on the dyno and see how it runs. And let's see if we can get it started in the first place. So I'm going to roll this in. I don't know if it's going to fit in my dining room. I'm going to try. And as you guys can see here, he made a custom engine stand. All I got to do is bring it in the dyno room, unbolt it, and of course remove the flex plate, put the flywheel on, put the motor mounts on, and then install it on the dyno and get it running. Okay, it is old, but my job is not to rebuild this engine, it's just to test it for him. And he wants to come in next week. He wants to go through some certain parameters at certain RPMs. But we're going to look at that with him next week. But in the meantime, let's get it running. Let's see if we can get it started. Let's see if that corroded, dried up carburetor runs because it's been sitting for a while and I find it pretty stiff, but it doesn't matter. I don't have a cam to break in, so I can start it at idle, whatever. And it's gonna have any fuel leaks? I'm not so sure. So let's put it on, put the fuel pump on, get it running and see what happens. Okay, so let's push it into the dyno room and it's going to be a little bit difficult, but I'm going to try my best. Let me see now. This is a work of art. I want to roll it in backwards. Here we go. Actually, well, let me see. Hope it fits through my door. No, you know, usually I have my own engine stands, which are a lot shorter. But now this is sitting on a stand that the customer made. And you know what? I'm not going to take it off and move it around. I'm going to try to find a way to squeeze it in here, put it on my chain block, raise it, take off the stand, and then start putting it on the dyno. I'll manage one way or the other. And you know, it would have been a good idea to cut the ears off so it doesn't have to get into, I could get into some tight corners. There we go. All right, here we go. He's got spacers, washers, he's got everything here. Okay. Now we start by removing it off the stand so I could put the flywheel on. I've installed the bells and that belongs to a small block Mopar here on the dyno. So now I got to install a flywheel and my disc to put onto the dynamometer.
Nick's dyno testing cell is equipped with an overhead hoist on a rail. This facilitates the transfer from an engine stand to the dyno rack.
Okay, let's get this rolling engine stand out of the way. All right, let's go do our job right now. Here we go.
The dyno room where Nick does his work is an extra strong room in the back of the shop. It's built with reinforced concrete and bulletproof glass. There's a powerful exhaust system and an overhead filtered air intake.
Okay, we'll remove the flex plate. Go. Now this being a 340, it's a forged crank, it's neutral balance. So I've got a flywheel here that's for a forged crank, which suits for a 318, 340, 383, 440, and of course the everything that's a forged crank 6-bolt on a Chrysler. This is a neutral flywheel with an internal balance crankshaft, which in many cases forged steel. And it's just to let you guys know, this is a manual flywheel for a manual transmission car. And this is the disc that works with the dyno. This is where the shaft from the dyno goes to the disc, and the disc is attached to the engine. And then it makes it one piece. Now it takes a lot of work to install an engine on dynamometer. And people say, just put it on. You think so? Here we go. So there you go. Now I'm gonna bolt the dyno disc to the flywheel.
People might think it's easy for Nick to throw an engine on the dyno, but he's done it so many times, he makes it look easy.
Okay, there we go. I know they're tight enough. I've gone through this many times. So now I'm going to turn the engine over. Spin it, I should say. Spin it. So I can put the rear end of the engine towards the dyno. And here we go. Okay. Okay, here we go. Yeah, sometimes they're going for a shot, and there we got it. Okay. Won't be long. Takes time. It's like installing an engine in a car, you know. And we got a 5/8 key, wrench I should say. You know, people ask me how many engines I put on the dyno. Man, I don't know. Too many. You know what? Actually, I've lost count. I couldn't tell you. After all, I had it for 20 years now, 21 years or so. There we go. You see, sometimes when the bolt's too tight, you tighten them. As your finger tighten, a little vibration like so. There you go. Done. Okay, started. Then I'm going to put the motor mounts after. So, we got the block to the bell housing. Got the flywheel with the turning disc. Okay, starter's on. Now let's put the motor mounts on so we can drop the engine and remove the chain. You know, I've got motor mounts. I got everything in this shop. Everything for a V8 American muscle car engine. I got motor mounts. I got the bell housings. I got the flywheels. I got the starters. And you know, you don't know what the American V8 engine is going to come into dyno, so I have to be prepared. And headers, I got them in the most common big block Mopars, and of course the big block Chevys. I have a few on the Pontiac, small block Mopar, small block Chevy, and so forth. You know, I got motor mounts. I've marked them all. This is the motor mount left. I marked left, as you can see right in here. Because you know, when you have people sometimes help you, you want to make it easier for everybody. You know, I throw them in the motor mounts. And sometimes I might put them on the wrong side. So I tell you guys, you can't go wrong, they're marked. So as long as they're small block Mopars, like this one here, it's not a problem. Okay, that's the left-hand side. Let's do the right-hand side. Here we go. Some bolts you cannot put the electric ratchet, so I'll do it manually. Like so. Okay.
When Nick has a fresh engine on his dyno and he's revving it up to the max for horsepower and torque tests, it isn't unusual to see a crowd of guys packed into the control room, cheering him on. But no matter the engine, Nick has to do all the work that makes the magic possible. There are a lot of small parts that all have to come together to make big power.
There are other bolts, you know, it's like installing an engine in a car. It's time consuming, but you know what? It's all worth it. Here we go. You know, you want to balance out the engine straight. I'm going to put these mounts on loose right now. Drop it. And there we go. Looks pretty good. Okay. That's out of the way. Okay. Let me tighten them up a little bit now.
With the engine secured to the bell housing and the dyno stand, Nick can begin the rest of the attachments.
I'm not going to use his fuel pump. I'm going to use my pump. So, okay, here we go. Okay, we got that. Now my favorite thing, the headers. Okay, here we go. How long was this engine sitting in storage? I have no idea. It doesn't matter, we're gonna find out. First of all, I'm going to give me some room here so I can install the headers in it. You know, he took it out of the car and he's told me that he has, he revs it to 6,000 RPM. I don't think I'm gonna take it that high. I really don't think so. Well, you know what? We're going to take it to the maximum RPM where it makes horsepower. Then we're going to leave it at that. And the thing that's going to take the most time here for me right now is installing those headers. Okay, here we go. You know, if this was exhaust manifolds right now, I would have been done. I would have been done. But it's my favorite. Headers, my favorite. It's really time consuming, but you know what? What are you gonna do? Okay, let's get it going. Look how tight these bolts are. Look how tight they are in the corners. Look at that, way in the corner. These are bolts that should have been not 7/16 head, a 3/8 head, like so. This would have been a lot easier. See, this is a 7/16 head, that's a 3/8 head. You can buy it from ARP. They're the same bolts, but this is the head, the bolts that come with the header. But you want to make your job easier because it's in a very, very tight area. You get header bolts with a smaller head, then you get a 3/8 key instead of the larger 7/16. And let's see how it goes on. Right here. I want to show you right now. Gotta find it through the gasket. Then put it on. A lot of people don't know that. For my engines that are basically cruisers, you don't really need headers, you guys. No, for a full race engine, yeah. But for the engines I built for so many clients, you don't need headers. But anyway, just to let you know. Okay. You know, when it comes to installing headers on an engine in the car, especially some cars, some models, you really don't want to know. Look, look, look. Don't you love them? You gotta fight every little bolt sometimes. Back in the day, I grew up always installing headers, but at my age, at this time, for a lot of engines we built for cruisers, don't need them. They're like a pain in the butt. You want to change a motor mount, replace a motor mount, replace a starter, work on a steering box, steering column, change spark plugs, preventing from burning on the plug wires. Forget it. Stay with the manifolds. And if you want to disagree with me, I don't mind. I've done it for 50 years on so many different cars, and I don't care what people think. When I hate headers, I have my reasons, and that's the way it is. Sometimes I wonder if a client walks in with a car and he wants me to do work and he's got headers on the car, sometimes I say, you know what, I don't want to touch it. I had one here the other day that gave me a hard time, and I said, you know what, do I really need this? No. Anyways, we did it, done, it's gone. A little frustration, but we got it done. In our merch store, we have t-shirts that are made, I don't like headers. Yeah, no headers, save them for the track. That's what I say. You know, headers are good for if you're racing the car, you're looking for performance, really performance, high revving engine, big cubic motor. When it's got a very bad exhaust manifold design, maybe. But a lot of these muscle car engines come with good design exhaust manifolds, so you don't have to worry about it. Like the ones I work with, the 340 high performance, the 440 magnums, 6-packs, the 426 Hemi. They're good manifolds. I worked on a few big block Fords, big block Chevys. They have some good manifolds. Same thing with the shorties on the small block Chevy. There's some good exhaust manifolds out there. Not every engine has them, but then again, makes the job a lot simpler. And of course, more enjoyable to work with. Now we're just about to put the carburetor on. And it looks pretty dirty, dry it up. Was it sitting on the shelf for a long time? I don't know. But look at this. You know, when you open the, and the linkage is loose here, when you open this up, it should spring closed. It doesn't. So let's see now, look, it's stuck open, look. I open the choke. Is this thing gonna work? Wow, you know what? I don't have to break in a cam. I don't have to start it right away. I can take my sweet time. So you know what? Let me bolt it on. Let's see if there's any fuel leaks. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it idles. And then we'll see from there. Like I said, put it on, get it running. That's what he wants me to do. And that's exactly what I am gonna do. Okay, let's put it on. You know, from the looks of that carburetor, it looks like it's been sitting on the shelf for a while. Shelf, floor, on the engine, I don't know. In a cold storage place, could be, but it doesn't matter. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get it running and we'll take it from there. Yeah, it's all good. Okay. Here we go. No, that's okay. Okay, gasket. Here we go. Put his carburetor on right now. You know, you guys are watching my channel. Why don't you subscribe to it? To all you new viewers or guys who've been watching us for a while. You know, we have so many views that we have a lot of viewers that don't subscribe. And you know, it doesn't cost anything. Just press the like button, subscribe to my channel. Won't cost you anything. So go for it. Thank you. And if you guys have subscribed, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a cousin, whatever, okay? Let's make the channel grow, you guys. Thank you. PCV valve connected. Then we're gonna need a fuel line. The fuel line, I'm not gonna use his fuel line. I'm gonna use the one off the dyno. I don't need his. But you know what? The pump is still on there. It's still connected. And you know, as we crank it over, if there's any fuel in there, it's gonna push it out here. So I really don't care. It's gonna get wet, but it's only gonna shoot a few shots and that's it. But in the meantime, I'm gonna put my own fuel line. Yeah, you know, our dyno has a built-in fuel pump. It's electric. It runs about 5.5 to 6 pounds, so it's good enough. Here we go. I'll put the fuel line on. No. There we go. You know, after doing so many different motors, different carburetors, different applications, dual feed, single feed, you gotta have, you have to be all equipped. And this time, I'm gonna tighten up that fuel line real good. I wanna make sure we don't get a leak here. Here we go, and I'm sure it's gonna hold this time. And I'm not worried about here having fuel leaks, I'm worried about the carburetor itself. Could be dried up, maybe the floats are stuck, I don't know. Okay, this is good. Fuel line, spring, throttle plate, 7/16. There we go. Let's go do that now. Okay, here we go. Okay, there. Then we need a spring return, which I get from here. Is this long enough? I guess it is. Perfect. PCV valve is on. Now my vacuum gauge from the dyno, which is going to be right here. Then we got to make our oil pressure. Let's get going on that, which is back here on a small block, a big block too. So I'm going to remove all this. So I'm going to put our mechanical oil pressure gauge. mechanical, then it gets to the console, it's going to be electronic. Goes through our big electronic board right over here. Like I said earlier, installing an engine on a dyno is like putting it in a car. Just to let you guys know, I got a sensor here that works off the oil pressure. This one activates the red light. In other words, anything under 8 pounds of pressure, this switch on the oil pressure switch activates the red light, meaning low oil pressure. So sometimes when you're doing a dyno test, you don't see the gauge. You're not looking at the gauge. You're focusing on a lot of things. But when that red light comes on, you shut it down right away before something really goes wrong with the engine. So you might call this an idiot light, but to me, it's not an idiot light. If you guys fly planes, or should I say like pilots know, every port-in gauge has a light with it. And for that reason, the light wakes you up. It's a sudden impact to your eyes that tells you, hey, something's wrong. Before you can catch it on the gauge, you might be a bit too late. So take it from me, you guys, and don't call it an idiot light. Okay. Here's our oil gauge. And now let's hook up our red light. Also meaning when the red light comes on, before the engine runs, it also means ignition on, key on. Just like in the old cars, you put the key on and the red light comes on for the oil. That's the same thing I got here. Okay, now my client has asked me to check the distributor if it's correct. So what I got to do is remove the first spark plug. Here, let me just show you guys. Let's start from scratch. I'm going to take off the cap. I'm going to show you guys how you find top dead center. When you build an engine, you want to put the distributor back in. I'm going to show you how it's done. First of all, the wiring here is right on the throttle. I don't think it's good. But we're going to take out the first spark plug. Let me put the power on the console so I can get going. See, I'm going to take out the first spark plug. I want to feel the compression. Put it at top dead center. And then we're going to point the rotor where it belongs. Wow, it's running rich. It doesn't matter. We'll get it going with the same spark plugs. Okay, here we go. I'm going to look for compression with the first spark plug out, cylinder number 1, and look at the rotor. But I'm not going to look at the rotor. I'm going to go with my thumb, feel the pressure, put the damper on the mark top dead center, meaning compression stroke top dead center. And here we go. There we go. So here's our mark. I felt the compression. So if you guys take a good look right here, I'm going to put it at the 0 mark. Give me a second. There's our 10 degrees before, 10 degrees after, 0 mark, top dead center. So that piston cylinder number 1 is a top dead center compression stroke. Of course, I went through with my thumb up here, not inside the cylinder, but I just felt the compression. And when you feel the compression coming up, hold it, stop cranking it, and that's where you're about to be on top dead center. Line it up like so. Now you're going to put the rotor where you wish you want it. Okay, here we go. So what do we got here? So he's got number 1 over here. Are we correct? Let's take a look. Maybe we don't need to remove the distributor. And on a small block Mopar, it's clockwise. The firing order is clockwise. Something's missing. The tab. See, there's supposed to be a tab here, but anyways, you know, this is something done on their own. You know, see the square? It has a tab where the screw is. There's a tab that locks the distributor in place. But in this case, I don't have it. It's not one of my builds. It's not an engine I'm restoring or anything. So I'll get it going the way it was when they brought it in. And I guess this is correct. So this is, look, I want to show you. Number 1, is pointing forward, okay? And you want to make sure your wire to your spark plug number 1, which is this one here, let's see where it ends up. Wow, it's a bit too much advanced. It's a few degrees. But anyways, this is not what I want. But anyways, I'm going to take a good guess at it. It's a bit too much advanced. So I'm going to have to back it up a little bit. I'll get a 1/2 inch key. Now I can put the spark plug back in. We got that figured out. Okay, let's put the spark plug in. Spark plug is back in. Let me lock the distributor. No, I'm sorry. I was thinking about the timing. It was a bit too far. See, the rotor's over here and the number 1 is over here. So he's got a bit too much advance. So what I'm going to do is retard it a bit. Like so. Like this. Okay, the number 1 is over here. Let me just take it off to be sure. The number 1 is pointing. See, the number 1 is pointing at the bolt right here. You can turn the distributor, but the rotor doesn't turn. It's locked with the oil pump drive gear. I think it's about there. You know what? We're going to get it started. I guess it's around here somewhere. I'll get it running. Okay, there we go. Now, let's put our wires in place. Okay, let's see if we have full throttle, like so. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, we got full throttle, so that's all good. Then we got to put on the attachments now for the electric water pump.
Unlike in the car where the engine powers the water pump, Nick's dyno uses an external electric motor, giving him the ability to start and stop cooling at the touch of a button.
Now this would be a nice carburetor to send to Don Oak, if you're watching. I'd love to send you this one. You want to overhaul it and make it brand new. But you know, if it's a detailed engine, I would do that. But in this case, it's a different reason. It's only here for dyno testing, and that's as far as we're going to go. So let me take out the sensor. This is the temperature sensor. Look at it, it's all corroded. That's okay. I'll put it with this unit over here. And now let's get my gauge in there. Like so. Here we go. Just in there. Let's tighten that up. Okay. Here we go. Like so. You know, sometimes I get people to help me put an engine on the dyno on and off. But in this case, I'm all alone. To show you guys what does it take. It takes time. Okay. I'll put it further away from the like so. All right. Let's put on our electric motor to run our water pump. I do a lot of big block Mopars, so this one here I have to guess where I'm going to put that big bolt. I think I have it. Okay, now we're going to put our exhaust O2 sensor set up. We have to put the reducers with the at least a 14-inch pipe so we can get a correct reading on the O2 sensor. Like so. This is what I'm talking about right here. See? We got our water pump set up, our radiator hoses, or cooler tower hoses. I got my water temperature. Headers are in place. Oh, O2 sensor. Hold on. We need an O2 sensor. We need the O2 sensor so we can get a air-fuel ratio reading. Okay. This is an O2 sensor. I'm going to hook it up to our exhaust system, like so. Tighten it down so we can get a reading. We'll look for number 1. I'm done 1. Now let's put some fuel in here. There we go. Again, we're running Petro-Canada 94. I don't know the compression on this motor, so we'll go with the best fuel we got. I think we got enough. Our dyno runs on fresh water, so I have to turn on the line. So it works on the absorber. Works like a clutch, as you say. Holds the engine down, the RPM. That's how the load works. So now let me turn on the water. Here we go. Okay, make sure everything's in place. Bypass hose, upper hose, lower hose, temperature, heater hose, heater hose. I believe everything's in place. We gotta make sure we have no wires touching, like right here. You see? Only because it's a header. Look, right there. You see it? Right away. Okay, so I didn't see it, but it just tells you. If I had a manifold, this won't be happening. But no, a header, it's always in the way. Boy, do I hate them. I have to turn around the wire.
And while Nick is taking care of one problem, another one comes up.
Oh, we have a core plug. If you look, take a good look. And look, right behind the header. Right behind the header.
Nick hates to see a leak of any kind on engines he's testing. But at least this one's just some water coming from a core plug.
I think it's okay. Yeah, we're good. Okay, let's take a look and see where that water leak is. Let me add some more water. Here we go. Oh, really nice. And look where it is. You couldn't ask for a better place. Look at that. Of course. You know, if I had manifold, exhaust manifold, I would have pulled out the core plug right now, changed it. But now for me to do this, I have to remove the header. There's another reason why I hate headers. Look, here it is. Look, what do you want to do? You know what? I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it. Let it leak. Let's get the water pump circulating. Get the air bubbles, air pockets out. Here we go. Let me make sure. There's the water pump. It clicked on. There we go. I want to make sure the water stays level there. Let me shut the pump right now. Give me a look. Let me shut the pump off. There it is, right on the money. There it is. See, it's full. So now we know we have no air pockets. The water is leaking through the core plug. But you know what? Maybe it might stop on its own. I'm not sure, so I'm going to leave it. And now the big question. This dried up carburetor. I'm going to add fuel. Are we going to have a fuel leak? Most likely. But now I'm expecting a fuel leak. Maybe not from my hose, but from the carburetor itself. It's kind of dry, it's rusted. I don't know. Let me add some fuel and see what happens. So you guys stay tuned. Here we go. I'm about to start the fuel. The most magical moment. Now the floats may be dry, the gaskets may be dry. I'm not sure. But right now I'm not putting no ignition on. I'm not going to start the engine. There is no danger of a fire. I'm just going to add fuel to the carburetor and see what goes on. So you guys take a good look. I'm going to click on the fuel pump right now for the first time. 5-6 pounds of pressure. My electric pump from the dyno. Through this line in the carburetor to the 2 flow bowls and see what happens. Here we go. And by the way, you guys, you can hear the pump go on. Here we go. Let's take a good look. I don't see any fuel leaks. I want to see if there's fuel in the carburetor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the accelerator pump to see if there's any fuel. Here we go. Wow. You know, it doesn't shoot out like a spray. It just spits. I doubt if this carburetor is going to work. Anyways, first of all, let me get the choke tied open with a tie wrap, which I forgot to do earlier. Well, because we don't need the choke, and I want to make sure that when we do full throttle that because we don't have a thermostat hooked to it to stay open. Because it doesn't, this intake manifold that he's got on, the torque intake manifold, is not equipped with the automatic thermostat for the choke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie it open. And if you guys take a good look, it's all bent. This should be forward. And let's see what I can do for this. Give me a few minutes. Yeah, you know, you want the choke to stay wide open. Because when you drive the car with the choke on, it's always wide open. And it's the same way I want this. Okay, it's stuck open. All right. You know what? I'm going to put the fuel pump back on again. I'm going to take a good look, see what's going on. Okay. Here we go. You know what? Okay, we have no external leaks, no internal leaks. Sometimes when a carburetor warms up, it might work, might not work, I don't know. So let's see if we get it started. Where's the timing? I don't know. Let's put a timing light on and we'll see after. Here we go. Now let's say, you know, like I said earlier, I have no idea how long this engine's been out of the car, but it doesn't matter. Our job is just to get it running and take it from there. There we go. Okay, there's the coil wire. It's gonna crank. Maybe some fuel is gonna shoot out of here, but let me just crank it a bit. It's got a mechanical pump still attached to it, and I'm not gonna remove it. Let me just crank it over, see if it cranks. Here we go. Starter. All right, I guess we're ready. Let me just turn on my computer. I think we're going to start it now. Okay, O2 sensor on. Let it warm up a bit so I can get it activated right here. I think we got everything in place. Now let's see how it goes. Okay, here, O2 sensor's on. Here we go. Good luck. Give it gas. Okay. Wow. It sure doesn't want to run. What happened there? It's running, it's leaking fuel on the inside as it idles. It's running on a couple of cylinders. And I'm trying to adjust this screw here in the front of the carburetor. And it seems like it doesn't want to turn at all. Anyways, this one doesn't have air fuel ratio screws, as you can see. Doesn't matter. This thing's not going to run. He wants me to make an air fuel ratio check. This carburetor is super dried up. Anyways, let me try it one more time. Here we go. I'm going to have to advance it a bit. And these are brand new headers. They're going to cook on us. It's going to smoke up the room a bit, but doesn't matter. I just need to advance the timing a bit. That smoke is from the paint coating they have on the headers, which is awful. All right, let me start it again. Look at it, it's running super, super rich. Look at that. Look at that. running way too rich. Yeah, those got a few sticky lifters, plus the smell from the paint from the new headers. Oil pressure is good. At least we got it running. Oh, pressure is good. All cylinders are working. lifter noise went away. I guess the lifters are lazy. This is like starting an engine sitting in a car for a long time. Dried up carburetor, sticky lifters, oil pump didn't work for a long time, water leaks. I'm surprised it doesn't have any fuel leaks on externally on the carburetor. Internally, I think it does. It's running. Ah. Now, when was the last time this engine was running? I do not know. Or the carburetor sitting around for a while. But sometimes let it work for a while, and we'll see how it goes. So let it run, see how it goes. It's running. I'm really surprised it's running. You know, client's gonna come in next week so we can do some testing, but I'm debating if I should do any testing right now. You know, the rocker or the lifters are not making any noises anymore. I guess the lifter's filled up with oil. Timing set at 36 degrees. If it runs, you know what, I'm gonna make a test. Maybe up to $5,000. And I want to make sure it doesn't run too lean. Let's give it a little while and see how it goes.
Amazingly, the dirty old 340 is coming back to life on Nick's dyno. He's even thinking about doing a couple of tests to higher RPMs.
I gotta loosen up the butterflies on the carburetor. Spark plug is still leaking just a bit right now, so you know, as the metal expands, it works. So it's leaking a lot less, so I'm not gonna bother with that. I'm just worried about my air-fuel ratio. Vacuum is good. I got all the 8 cylinders firing. Timing's at 36 degrees. It's locked in without a vacuum advance. So I think I'm about to make a test. I think we're pretty good. All 8 cylinders are firing. I don't hear any lifter noises. I just want to make a load test to see if it can hold the, let's see if it backfires or anything like that. That's the first thing. So let's try it. Sometimes when you beat him up, there's one idle. Here we go again. I want to lock it in at 3,000. Yeah, those headers are starting to heat up and burn off the paint that is applied by the manufacturer, and it has an awful, awful smell. And it takes a while to burn it off. I don't know what kind of paint to use, but I sure don't like it. So anyways, I'm going to see if I can lock it at 2,500 RPM. Here we go. I'm going to try that. 2,500. We're going to take it to 4,500. You know, doing one thing at a time. Let's see if we can hold it at 25. Here we go. Here we go. 2,500 RPM. We did it. It's working. So let's make a small test from 2,500 to 4,500. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Let it idle for a while. Yeah, let the smoke get out of the room. Let it run. Just let it run for a few minutes. Man, you see the headers, man? They stink. They stink, man. I can't believe it. I'm trying to get the carburetor to work. It seems so. Trying to shake it loose. And then, here we go. Will it turn off? Perfect. All right, I think we just woke up an engine that was probably sitting for a while in the carburetor. Actually, we have no backfires. I'm very surprised. And I'm just gonna take a look at the air-fuel ratio, because when I was looking at it over here, it looked pretty rich. Here we go. Wow, it's running super rich. So here's the air-fuel ratio. I'm looking for the high 12.8, 12.9. This is under measured power, measured at the crankshaft. But in reality, When you go to the CAE standards, this is the real horsepower right here. So we're still climbing at 4,400 RPM. We got almost 284.8 horsepower at 44. And we can still wind it higher. Maybe I'm going to make one more test, take it to 5,000, and then we'll leave it at that. Until my client comes in next week, do some other test that he wants to do. But in the meantime, I'm going to make one more test to 5,000 RPM. Want to make sure it doesn't backfire. Want to make sure everything operates well, so that when he comes, we can do the test that he wants to do. So let's do one more test to 5,000 RPM and leave it at that. All right, here we go. I'll put the O2 sensor on. Water's on. Okay, here we go. Now we're going to take it to 5,000 RPM, and then we're going to leave it at that. Here we go. 2,500, 5,000. Oil pressure is good. Air fuel ratio is kind of rich. It is an old carburetor. I don't know what he wants to do with it. We're not going to play with that. I'm going to leave it as it is. My job is, want to make this engine is running. Got nothing dangerous going on, so that when he comes in next week, I could do further testing. But right now, with you viewers on board, I want to do one last step to 5,000 RPM, and we'll take it from there when my client comes back in next time. Let's see if everything's good. Oil pressure. I'm ready. Are you? Here we go. And one last test to 5,000 RPMs. Okay, let me just turn it off now. Is it still working? Yeah. I'm going to let the air fuel settle out with the carburetor, but this carburetor needs to be run. But in the meantime, we hit the 300 horsepower at 4,800 RPM, right there. So this engine still has more potential. It is an old engine. It's got 20,000 miles on it. Been rebuilt by somebody I don't know. I believe it's 30 overbore. It's pretty good, 300 horsepower. This from the factory made 275 horsepower. And of course, it didn't come with headers, it came with exhaust manifolds. But right now we're at 300 horsepower. It's running great. I do not want to go any further without my client's permission. I told him I will take it to 5,000 RPM. I did with few viewers. You saw it, still running. And look at the RPM going up by itself now, look. I know the carburetor is playing games right now. But in the meantime, I'm leaving it as it is. You know, these 340s are screaming engines, you know that, eh? Right now, I'm just gonna tinkle with the carburetor a bit. I want to see if I can bring the RPM down a bit. The timing is set, locked in at 36 degrees, but there is no vacuum advance on this distributor. Oil pressure is good. I don't have any major leaks. No backfires, so I'm ready for testing when he gets here. Looks good. So I'm going to keep working on it. I want to thank you guys for staying with me, putting the engine on the dyno and doing some testing. And of course, starting up with a dry carburetor. And thanks for tagging along and watching. Thank you. And don't forget to press the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching us here at Nick's Garage. And you guys, if you look down below the video, we have a whole bunch of merchandise that you guys can buy. So whatever you like, buy it, love it, wear it, and enjoy it. And help spread the word of Nick's Garage. And if you have some time, check out our Patreon page. We have extra content and you guys can watch it and take it from there. And we'll see you next time.